Hello and welcome to episode 9 of Hospitality Stories. Why I'm all dressed up like that? Well, it's beginning to smell a lot like Christmas everywhere I go. What we have for you today is a little break away from the normal hospitality stories. We have a Christmas gift from Rachael Stevens, who you've seen on episode 3, and she's the chair of the Sussex branch for the Institute of Hospitality. And she invited at a very recent webinar MJ, Mary Jane Flanagan from mjinspire.com. And this is all about your hospitality story. How do you reframe, how do you rebrand your CV? What to look out for in order to make it into that interview. MJ has a lot of experience. Listen to what she has to say. I have learned a couple of things from this. Enjoy and Merry Christmas, everyone.
Okay, so good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's Institute of Hospitality Sussex branch event entitled Stand Up and Stand Out with the Job Seekers Toolkit. So for those joining us for the first time, the Institute of Hospitality is a professional body for managers and aspiring managers working and studying in hospitality, leisure, tourism, and our primary purpose is to support you, individuals like yourselves, throughout your careers and promote professionalism through lifelong learning. So if you do want to hear more about the Institute and how you can become a member, please do email me after the session. We are delighted to be joined here today by the brilliant MJ, who will be hosting a 1-hour workshop designed to enhance your career prospects and really support you in standing out in the jobs market during this particularly difficult and challenging time, shall we say. So MJ has a list of your pre-submitted questions prior to the event, but if you do have any further questions during the workshop, please do just pop them in the Q&A box, which should be at the bottom of your screens, and we'll endeavour to answer as many as we can for you within the time frame of the event. So MJ, over to you, and enjoy the session, everyone.
Brilliant. Hello everybody, and thank you for inviting me. Now, the way that I've planned this is I've taken your questions and I've designed the session around it, so it should automatically answer those questions for you. But if you feel that I haven't been in depth enough, or you want to ask another one, or just remind us, then yeah, please do put it in the question box. It's going to be a bit of a romp, so I hope you're paying attention. And I also hope you noticed my name, which I've changed to Mary Jane, seeing as we're coming up to Christmas. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen with you, and then we're going to get started. Okay, so there we go. Let's just make this a little bit bigger for you and full screen it, and there we go. Okay, so for those of you that don't know me, everybody calls me MJ. I have worked in hospitality for, well, pretty much forever, actually. I'm very old. Set up the All Bar One chain, Rocco Forte's Troubleshooter, all sorts of brands. I moved into training 19 years ago when my son was born. The reason why I was asked to do this is because I've set something up called the Job Seekers Toolkit. It's totally free. It's on my website. I'll show you where it is a bit later, but it's my gift to the industry because I was so concerned that the people I love and the industry I love were losing so many people at this time. So I decided to design and write something that was dead practical and dead useful, and it will be free on my site forever. So you can go into it as many times as you want, and it won't cost you anything. And this is a little bit of a romp through that, but to give you some really top tips and tools. So let's get started. Now, there is a handout that accompanies this. It's actually on the IOH website, but what we're going to do is get a link to go onto your website through Rachel, so you've got that. Plus, my website has handouts for every single training section. So there's lots there for you to have more information. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about you as a brand you. And we're going to talk about how you can promote yourself in the same way that all these incredible brands would promote themselves. And if you like, their packaging is your image, their PR is your LinkedIn and your networking, their advertising is your CV. And so what we're doing is we're taking lessons from all these incredible brands, and then we're saying, actually, you can use this for yourself. So I want you to package and promote yourselves in absolutely the best way so that you really do stand out. Now, I've got a confession to make, and this is hot off the press, actually, but I decided to test my own theories. So I wrote a CV, my CV, based on the training and what I'm going to show you. I then applied, I then networked, I then applied for a job based on everything I've told you. And it's actually not in our industry because I wanted to test that as well. Shockingly, I got the interview. So then I had an interview last week for said job. Now they've said I will find out middle of this week whether or not I've got it. So I'll keep you posted. Now it's actually part-time and it's to train the Cabinet Office in leadership, which I thought would make you all smile. So what do I know for sure? It works because I've tested it. So here we go. So the first thing that I would do if I were you is audit yourself and say, actually, how good am I? How good's my CV? Am I making an impact? Here's a little trick. Every time that you attend a virtual event, now this one's a webinar, so I can't see you, but if it's a Zoom one, make sure we can see you, because people that you can see are more memorable. And this is virtual networking. And somebody said at a conference a couple of days ago, they were shocked at how few people showed their faces. So stand out. How much do you know? But most importantly, how do I know you know that? So if you've had this incredible experience, and I don't just mean those people that are in industry, but have you had part-time jobs? Have you volunteered? Are you part of a committee? And of all those, what are the skills and the knowledge that you've attained from doing that? And add that to your skills section, which I'll explain in a minute. How well are you performing in your current role at uni with whatever you're doing? And are you being the best that you can be? Because whatever you do is a stepping stone to the next thing. And how good's your networking? And I'm going to talk to you about that, tell you a bit of a funny story as I was doing that happened while I was setting this up. And then one of the biggest questions you can ask yourself, and it's a question I would ask every day as you leave work and as you move up the ladder, even more so. And that is, when people walk away from you, what are they going to say about you? When they've worked with you all day, what are they going to say about you when you go home? That's a really important question. As a leader, what are they going to say about you? So have a think about that. And then you'll know what areas to work on first. And obviously it's the ones that's the lowest. So let's start at the beginning, which is you getting a CV together. Now, the very first thing I'm going to say is don't get a CV together, get a pen, get a notebook and sit down and think about what you've done, your experience and what those things have taught you. So if you're part of this committee, for example, well, that's organisational skills, that's PR skills. If you've organised an event or helped organise this event, event planning comes into that. So just really think about those things that you do. Do you coach a local team? Do you teach somebody tennis? Do you volunteer at the local sports hall? All of those have skills that will stand out. Start writing some of those skills down so that when you go to do your CV, they're there. Now, also take some time to research sort of job titles, job roles, companies that then you might be able to align yourself with them, your values, what's important to you. And one of the biggest, I think, is don't be afraid to pick the phone up or message previous employers or previous people you've worked with. Don't be scared to do that. And a little trick, okay, and it's actually already worked because I know somebody that's got a job because they did this. Think about who could be references for you and then ask them to proof your CV. Now, I always recommend this. Somebody who recently did this, the person they asked to proof the CV said, I know somebody that needs somebody in this position. Do you mind if I send your CV to them? And they said, no, of course not. They got the job. So it's a really good way of asking for a job without asking for a job. So think about who your references are and how you can, it's called leverage your network. Now, once you've got some notes down and some dates, and I'm very lucky because my dad kept everything I've ever done in my life and I found my old CV from years ago. What you want to do is you want to put it together. Now, I know the IOH has a template that you can use, and so do all of these places, okay? Don't forget Career Scope, the new Springboard. Don't forget the Food Service Circle. Jane Sunley's website's got a really basic one, but it is basic. But actually, Word, if you put templates into Word, they've got loads of CVs. Don't go for the flashy ones, go for the simple ones. So there's lots of places you can go to get advice. But the one thing they don't tell you about, and you would be shocked at how many people don't know, is applicant tracking systems. If you can imagine a search engine for talent, it takes your CV and it puts it through the bots. And they believe now that about 98% of recruitment agencies are using them and more companies are using them. And what it will do is it will only put through about 25% of CVs that go through it. Now, that means that 75% haven't been put through. And they say that about a third of those are because the formatting was wrong and it couldn't read it. And so it didn't put it through no matter how good you are. So what I've done is the way that I've recommended you design a CV gets through the applicant tracking systems. And we're going to play a game in a minute and we're going to see how well you get on with it. But what you want to do is get past the search engines. So that means to get past it, what you want to do is you want to have it really simple. So here you've got two CVs. The left-hand one, or the fancy one, is not going to get through. The other one, which seems boring, is going to get through. Now, the fancy one, I sent to 20 HR directors and general managers in hospitality and said, tell me what you think of that. Well, after they threw it back at me, they told me, and they said that would go in the bin immediately. So go for simplicity, but notice the pop of colour. That CV that you've got there, the one with my name on it, Mary Jane Flanagan, on the right-hand side, the simple one, that's a Word template. Now, the other one, okay, just look at this for a couple of minutes. Can you spot the mistakes? Now, I know you can't ask questions in there. Can they chat in there, Rachel?
Yeah, there's a chat box function as well next to the Q&A.
Okay, can you come back and then can you tell me what any of those are, do you think? Anybody come back and tell me what you think those mistakes are? All of those numbers represent a mistake. Let me get these. I've got the Q&A. More chat. Let's have a look. Fancy font, quite right too. US English, well spotted. Main information is on italics. Go on, keep going. Yeah, excuse me, I rather like the photo, thank you very much. But you're absolutely right. You would not include a photo or a date of birth. You will get kicked out by the ATS system. Too much colour, well done. Picture of self, yeah, well done. You're quite right. A picture of yourself, employers shouldn't have that, so they can't discriminate. Too many colours. Executive summary, what's that about? Should be personal statement. Well spotted. Punctuation is dreadful. Spelling, dreadful. No references, half-finished sentences. It's just about everything wrong that you could possibly imagine. Another one, and I've seen somebody else put this on theirs, is careful of your email address. Back in the 80s, it used to be you could have these fancy, you know, blue eyes, green hair @gmail.com, #1partygirl@gmail.com. Not now. Make sure you've got an email address that's appropriate for today's market and for jobs that you want to go and get for. So protect your references. Well done. Yeah, 10-year-old education qualification. What are you saying? No, don't worry. A lot of this isn't true on here, by the way. So well done. Now, if I were to click it again, you are actually going to see what all those mistakes were. Now, what we've done is I've been interviewing lots of people in our industry, the great and the good. Richard, I know, is on the call, him too, is brilliant. And I asked them what they want from a CV. The overriding answer is evidence, accomplishments and evidence. So, for example, I was a member of the Institute of Hospitality Sussex Branch Committee. During that role, I was treasurer, so that's really good with numbers, or we had to organise many events. I had to speak at that events. There's evidence of your presentation skills. There's evidence of your teamwork. So evidence. So don't just say, I was a general assistant. Say exactly what you did and what skills that produced. So if we look at the next one, what you've actually got here is you've got a personal statement at the top. Now, I may well, on some of them, I've taken out that 10 years bit. I haven't had 10 years under there. But I have said high profile contract catering, because you want it to know it's more than that, more than contract catering on this one. I didn't say I have good people skills. I said due to my people skills and ability to work under pressure, I was asked to induct new people. Evidence, accomplishments. I've also put a little bit about myself in. I draw illustrations because employers want to see the whole person, not just part of the person. If you then start moving down and have a look at the summary of the roles here, and this is a made up CV, this isn't actually my CV, you'll notice I've said the size of restaurants. You've noticed I've said that I worked and inducted new employees, and I would now probably add that I had written the induction program and inducted, you know, up to 150 new employees. Everything is about accomplishments. Now, a couple of other big things here. If you've got a gap in your CV, fill it. So you'll notice there's a gap in this, and all I've said is moved to the UK with my husband, had my son, and filled that gap. I was looking for the right position. If you don't, it could get picked up by the applicant tracking system or an HR director who says, well, what did they do at that point? Well, I'm going to put them on the maybe pile. So answer those gaps. The other thing is you don't have to put every job in there. So you'll notice I put the 3 most important, and then I've said various part-time jobs. So they can always ask you about that. Now, this particular CV is more of an early career graduate CV. I have made a change for people that are more experienced. And where you see that skills and achievements, move that just the skills section to under the personal statement, have 3 columns, 6 bullet points in each column, and you may say things like people management, appraisal skills, event management, all Microsoft, presentation skills. Now, the reason why you're going to want to do that is because the applicant tracking system will be programmed with words that they look for in your CV. So if they look for somebody to work in the events department, they're going to be looking for event management. They're going to be looking for people skills. They're going to be looking for customer service skills. They may be looking for barista skills. So they're going to look for those words. And if they don't see those words, they won't put you through. So the quick and easy way to make sure you have them on your CV is make sure you've got those listed as skills right at the beginning. And then you would want to then pepper more evidence through your CV. Now, when I applied for the government position, what I actually did was took my CV and took the job advert and I put them side by side on a screen, and I literally matched across the skills from the job description, and I made sure that they were included in my CV. And there wasn't a single thing I lied about. Everything I said I'd done, I had done, but I made sure that I used their language. And it's called career CV mapping. You want to map across. So what you want is a basic CV, and then you adapt it slightly to suit the role that you're going for, whatever that role might be. So as I say, you can get this from Word, or you can go into lots of templates and get them. The trick though is make sure you're using the right language. Now, the other thing the applicant tracking systems do is they don't recognize fancy titles. So for example, I know somebody whose job title is Chief Happiness Officer. He's the CEO. Now, he would not get a job if he put that on his CV, because it wouldn't recognize Chief Happiness Officer. So if you've been given a title that is a fancy version of something else, just in brackets, put the traditional name of that title so that it can be picked up. So there's your CV. So what am I saying here? Accomplishments, evidence, space, easy to read, and skills. So once we've got our CV, that's great, because you've got your CV there now. Go and send it to your references and ask them to proof it for you, and ask for another couple of people to proof it for you. You want as many people to proof it as you possibly can, because you will keep spotting things that could be even better until you eventually have a model CV that you can then add to or adapt accordingly. The next thing though is get yourself out there, network. And there's several ways. So yeah, you can go to events. You know, everybody stands there with a cup of coffee or a warm glass of wine looking over everybody else's shoulder. Don't miss the opportunity to go somewhere or meet people. And as tempting as it is to stay with your friends and chat to everybody, get out there. And I usually say to people, aim to have got the details of at least 3 different people at every event you go to. Now, these days, you wouldn't ask for a card. You'd say either or both. Can I take a photograph of your business card, please? And can I connect with you on LinkedIn? So and don't underestimate the power of networking that's not just in your industry, because people know people who know people who know people. Get involved. Volunteer. Join committees. Join this committee. Join associations. Get known. And be interesting and interested. So how are we going to network? How are you going to network? Well, one of the biggest is know what makes you special. Know your USP, your unique selling point. And then put together your elevator statement. Now, this is that phrase that you would use if you saw Danny Pecorelli, Andrew Stembridge in the lift, and you've got 3 floors and you want to introduce yourself. So you've got about 4 or 5 sentences. Oh, hello, you're Andrew Stembridge, aren't you? Hi, I'm Mary Jane Flanagan. I'm from MJ Inspire. I absolutely love Chewton Glen, and haven't you got the Mayfair Townhouse opening next week? I've been watching it online. It just looks incredible. I would love to come and have a look around. Do you think I'd be able to do that? I'd love to come and see it. Can I connect with you on LinkedIn? And that's exactly how I would do it. Now, I have done that over many, many years and managed to get into many, many places. My favourite was once in the lift in a building in the US, and I'd been told that the chairman of Goldman Sachs gets into this lift at 11 o'clock every Thursday. So at 11 o'clock on Thursday, I was in front of that lift and I got in it and he got into, and we were the only 2 people in the lift. And I said, hello, Floyd, aren't you? He said, yes. I said, I've heard so much about you. My name's Mary Jane Flanagan and I'm running Service Excellence training for you in the US and in the UK. And everybody talks about how you take the time to stop and say hello and see how they are. We've been getting a great response to Service Excellence. If you've got time today, I'd love it if you popped your head in and say hello. And I think it would really give the team a boost as well. I'd love to run this elsewhere. He did pop in. He did say hello. And I got to fly to Hong Kong to train it to Asia. Never underestimate the elevator speech, the elevator pitch. Now, the next thing is, though, it's not just the elevator pitch, but how else are people going to know how brilliant you are? Well, that's your LinkedIn, and that's you talking to people. And it's also you getting out there on social media and being seen. And not being seen for standing on a table, drinking vodka, singing Hello, Hallelujah. This is about you being seen for the right things. So I recommend that everybody Google audits themselves on a regular basis. So you put your name into Google and you press all, and that's what you see on the left-hand side. So I did this a little while ago, a couple of days ago, and there is nothing on there I would not want people to see. There is nothing on social media that I don't want people to see. And the more I post, the more I come up the search rankings. I then press images, because I want to check that the only images you see of me are the ones I want you to see. So you've got LinkedIn, you've got various blogs I've written, various conferences I've spoken to, and various events I've been at. There is nothing on there that would not promote me or the business. And I recommend you do that. It's one of the first things you do when you come off this call. And if anything appears that you don't want people to see, like a prospective employer, and believe me, 98% of prospective employers are going to Google you, make moves to get it removed. Get it off your timeline if it's on your own. Make sure your privacy settings are in place for Facebook. Facebook's for fun, not work. Let's make sure those privacy settings are in place. And if somebody else has posted it, ask them to remove it. Okay, and it did have, somebody posted, actually funny enough, it was my CV online, and I didn't want my CV posted online. So I wrote to them and said, can you do me a favor, can you remove it, please? They posted it as an example. So really big, this is huge. But what I would do is start talking about some of the things that you've been doing. So a really good example would be Gerald, who's the pastry chef at the Royal Air Force Club. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Love her. She's doing all these online lessons on social media for nothing. You search her on social media, all you've got are these amazing cakes, this amazing food. My God, if she ever comes on the market, snap her up. So what are people seeing about you and your unique selling points? Now, the next thing is, what about you and LinkedIn? Everybody should have a LinkedIn account. Everybody, from as early as you can. I've even just set one up with my son, and he's 19, he's at uni. So first things first, you want a decent profile photo. I would actually say not too stiff, not too proper. Show some of your personality. And you can take it with your mobile phone. Next, you have 140 letters to do that introduction under your name. So you want those 140 letters to be worthwhile. You don't just want to say student studying at, general assistant at, assistant manager at. You want to say something that's really eye-catching. And you want them to be action words. So I help individuals and companies achieve success. That's going to make people look at me, and they do. Next, you can change that background photo if you want to. That is a purposeful photo. It comes from Unsplash, and it's a little bit sneaky because it's saying to people, I get things done and I work hard. So there's a little bit of subliminal persuasion there, but you can change that using the pen at the top. Now, if you want to change other elements of you, you just click that profile section and it drops down everything that you might want to change, and you click on it and it will help you change it. So you can see at the bottom of the screen, that's where I would change what's under me. Now, the About section gives them a little bit more information. You've got 250 words in that section. Make it matter. And that could be pretty much a personal statement that you've got on the top of your CV. The other thing that I would say to you, under certifications and licenses, if you're furloughed at the moment and you've been taking some courses, don't forget to include them. Top tip. Did you know on Groupon, you can buy a course reduced from £200 to 16, which gives you a reception diploma? Go on Groupon and just have a look at what online courses are available at the moment, because that's a really good way to boost your CV. So then, what about making connections? So top tip is you want to try and get to over 500, because once you get to over 500, people don't know how many you've got. The next thing is, it might be that people approach you to ask you, and that's what you see in that top box. What I would say is, you don't have to accept every single request. It's quality as well as quantity. Every single one of those people want to sell me something, and that happens to me quite a lot. Now, the next thing though is, I may well want to connect with somebody else. So I did a search on the pig, for example. And if you look down, you'll see the third one down, George, is the Regional Operations Director of the pig. If you have a look under that, he and I have 77 connections. So I said, I'd like to connect with you, please. It then says, do you want to customize this? I said, yes, please, because I don't just want to say, I want to be your friend. And then I said, I wrote him a little note, said, I've really been following the pigs and the team. I think you're amazing. We've got a lot of connections and I would love to connect with you. You might say, I admire your brand. What rule of thumb is, a lot of people, if you've got a lot of connections in common, they will usually connect with you, because they can see that you're all in the same industry. So it's a bit like a tipping point. It gets better and better. What am I saying here? You don't have to accept all of them. Customize your connections, but do start to build your connections. So why don't you start with the people that you're working with now and the people that you worked with previously and people that you admire sometimes as well. I really admire your brand. I'd really like to connect with you. Now, sometimes what you can say is, I'd really like your advice. Can I connect with you to ask your advice? So I don't know, John Dawson at Law Group, for example. So that's not a bad idea either. Now, what about this open to work that people can see? So what happens is, under your name, you'll see these top sections there. Are you open to work? And you just click on it and go, yes. It then says, tell us what kind of work you want to do. That's the left-hand box. You can just click on it and it will do titles. It asks for locations and it says full-time, part-time, what have you. So just fill that in, add it to your profile, okay? And when you do, this is what you get, that open to work banner that you can see. Now, I've actually just taken it back off mine because I'm not, but that's what you get. So can you see, this is the top of my profile and you can see at the bottom, are you open to work? And actually, if you are, don't be ashamed of doing it. Everybody's doing it. Do it. It's worthwhile. So that's how you get your open to work banner on. Now, what I then suggest is, over time, you then start building other areas. So number one, start building your skills. I'm going to go back a minute. I'm going to show you what I mean. Down here, under your profile section, you'll see a skills section. It's under the volunteer experience there. If you click on that, you can say what skills you have. Hospitality, customer service, event management, committees, meetings, and you can have up to 50, I think. It might choose some for you. So, you know, choose the best ones for you. I worked with somebody the other day who hadn't changed this in 15 years, and all of their skills were about marketing, and now they're in tech. And it was just so different. And I said, you need to renew all of those. And then what happens is, when you put those in, people will be asked if they want to, every time you get a new connection, they'll say, oh, do you want to say what skills they've got? Now, here's a little trick. If you do it for other people, they'll be asked to do it for you. So I aim about once every couple of weeks to do my LinkedIn housekeeping. I update some endorsements and skills for people. I give recommendations and they get asked to do the same for me. And I call it career housekeeping. Now, recommendations, what are they? They're like references on your LinkedIn. Now, what you don't want to happen is you have to change jobs and you've got suddenly 5 all in one go because you've asked everybody. You want to build this over time. So what I recommend is, every time you either do something brilliant for somebody, or you've got a boss that's leaving, say, do you mind putting a recommendation in on LinkedIn for me? So I wanted to show you how I did it. And John Dawson at Law Group, he used to be Mandarin Oriental, and before that, The Edition, is the loveliest man. So I've done quite a lot of work for him, but he had never had a recommendation. I've never asked him. So I thought, actually, I'd ask him to show you how to do it. So you can pick it up from that original profile list, and it says, ask for a recommendation. And it says, who do you want to ask? And if you click on it, it will drop down all your connections. So I said, John Dawson. I then said, you then have to say to them why you're asking them. So I just said to him, hi, John, I'm actually doing this for a course I'm doing, because I'm running this session for you and Uni of Surrey, on how to become a networking ninja. I hope it's okay. And sent it to him. Anyway, he messaged me last night and said, of course I'll give you a recommendation, MJ. What do you want me to say? So people don't mind giving you recommendations, and particularly at the moment. But what I am going to recommend is you aim to get about 1 a month if you can. And then you'll slowly build up this amazing portfolio of references. And what that means is, once you've set up your LinkedIn, you do your housekeeping every couple of weeks or once a month, where you make new connections and you add new information. every time you do a course, add that to it. What's going to happen is you are going to build this really rich LinkedIn. And instead of you going to look for other people are going to come to you and say, would you like to work for us? Which will be your ultimate. That's what you really want to happen. And don't forget, every time you connect with somebody on LinkedIn, you're not just seeing their profile, they're seeing yours. So it's really worthwhile. So, what about, I'm going to just I'm going to stop sharing my screen a minute because I'm going to talk to you and then I'm going to come back to this bit if I may. So let's think about some of these questions that we've been asked. So number one, what do I do if I haven't really got any experience? I'm a student, you know, really have any part-time jobs. How can I make my CV look good? What I would say is sit down and really think about the hobbies you've done, the teams that you've played in, the volunteering you might have done. You may not have had any specific jobs, but you will have done things that can give you skills and experience. So use those. How can you be seen by people in industry if you are early in the industry or if you are a student? Well, one of the things I always recommend is you can follow organizations on LinkedIn and you can follow people. You can follow Instagram and you can follow Twitter. So follow the companies that you admire. Mandarin Oriental, The Cave, iconic hotels, Cliveden. So exclusive, of course. Because what happens is if you follow those and you start commenting and you commenting positively, and Rachel's nodding there,
yeah,
they'll notice you and they'll look you up because people want good people. People will always want good people. So you can still be noticed if you haven't yet got this huge amount of experience. What I would also say is, have a look. There's so much free training out there at the moment. Loads. Do it. And then say it on your CV or fill it up. Make sure you're COVID ready. Make sure you've got some of your health and safety, your GDPR. All of that's free at the moment. Invest some time in you building some of those skills. I've also been asked, what do we do if we want to leave the industry? And it breaks my heart. Can I just say firstly, so my first really answer to that is, what you would do is you would want to come back again at some point, please. But what I did when I did this apply for this job, I took the skills that I had learnt in my hospitality career and I focused on those skills. Most jobs want a cover letter. So what you do is you take those skills, and in hospitality, oh my goodness, are we resilient? Are we hardworking? Brilliant with people, attention to detail. And you say how those skills would be relevant to that new role in that industry. So what you do is you focus on the skills rather than the role itself, and how those skills are relevant and how they cross over. Somebody's asked a question here, and I love these. Number one, is the STAR method okay? So for those that don't know the STAR method, and I just used it in the interview that I had, the STAR method is, what's the situation? What was the task? What was the action? And what was the response? What was the outcome? And you absolutely categorically can use that. And I would most definitely use it in an interview. So yes, whoever said that. And I actually put a post about that on Twitter and Instagram last week. Would you use skills-based or a chronological CV? Which is best? David's good question. Well, number one, I think it's about a combination of two. So what you'd want to do is you want to include your skills, some of your skills at the beginning as a list, but then use your chronological CV to evidence those skills. So you want a sort of a combination of the two. What they say is, on average, a 2-page CV. If you're in a much more senior position, you can get away with 3. But they also understand if you've been at uni, it might be 1. But actually, if you put those skills in, you'll find it will go to 1.5 anyway. So you want a combination, and chronological, you want to put your education last, sort of underneath everything, unless you're a student, in which case you're going to want to put it first with your predicted grade. And then your jobs, you start with the job you're doing now to your earliest. But if you've been in the industry 20, 30 years like me, I generally just do the top 3 most relevant, because they can also go to LinkedIn to see the rest. And I would include LinkedIn on your CV. Say the name. Don't say the link. Don't put link there, because ATS systems don't recognize links. So it will just print it as type. What have we got here? Oh, that's all right, David. Do you want to ask me some more questions? If you're a graduate, do you still leave the education first, since I'm currently unemployed? Good question, good question. So this is what I would say, lovely Sonia. If you can, I would try and do some volunteering, because it shows a willingness to continue to work. Now, you only have to volunteer a day a week or a night a week or a couple of days. Are you doing people shopping that are in lockdown? Are you doing some of the calls for hospitality action? It's a really good thing to do at the moment. If you can do a bit of volunteering while you're unemployed, what I would do is put your education at the bottom, but put your volunteering there, and then the last jobs that you had. But also, if you're currently not working or you're on furlough, use this time to build your skills. So again, what I would say is have a look at what free training's out there. Career Scope have got a load, Umbrella's got a load, UK Hospitality has. So use this time for that. Do you send via email? If so, who do you send unsolicited? It's a great question. I'm not a fan, per se, of sending unsolicited CVs. And the reason why I'm not is because they're getting hundreds and thousands of them, and you'll end up it getting just lost in a pile. What I would recommend is you do your research. You find out who it is that's in charge of recruitment there. You do a fantastic cover letter. If you're local, actually walk in there. Walk in there and introduce yourself and ask if they could give this to the said person. It's more powerful than a whom it may concern or head of recruitment. What do you think to that, Rachel?
Yeah, I'd agree. If it's personally addressed to someone that you know is going to be reading it, it's, yeah, definitely more advantageous to do that.
And if you know somebody that knows somebody that's in that business, ask them to introduce you. And if you're lucky, my first port of call would actually be LinkedIn. And I'd see if they would connect with me in LinkedIn. And I'd do it that way. I hope that's answered that for you. I think it probably has. Can I tell you a couple of things to be aware of? It was actually Liz Hartstone that said this. She's the most amazing recruiter, okay? And she said, how about F&B? I'll come back to that. She said, you want to be in control of your CV. So if you send it to loads of recruitment agencies, sometimes what happens is they're just sending it out all over the place to stack the numbers up. And they're are some ATS systems that if you've applied for 5 jobs in the same company, they're going to think that's suspicious and they're going to kick you out. So rather than randomly also send to recruitment agencies, think about who is best for you. And at the moment, with caterer.com, with CareerScope and Food Service Circle, just go that route first, okay? And if you want to see what jobs are out there, Indeed actually has all of them. And you can look without having to register. But, you know, Kathy Dyble's, she's caterer.com. She's dead honourable. She's lovely. You know, she'll see you right. Now, here's one. And this is for you as well, Peter. You said, how about F&B? At the moment, because our industry is so concerned about everybody, people that wouldn't normally have made themselves available are. So through CareerScope and through the Food Service Circle, both of those, they potential recruiters, potential owners, potential general managers are making themselves available for you to talk to. So I'd be tempted to go that route first, and they are putting jobs on there. Now, what some recruiters can do, and it's happened to me, I must have had 20 times, if not more, emails telling me that Google are looking for a director of learning and development. Now, if you read the small print, Google says that they will not recruit through recruiters. So what they're doing is recruiters are saying that they've got that vacancy, and then they're attracting you, and then they're saying we don't have the role anymore. Google will not deal through recruiters. So read the small print. Okay, the best possible thing that you can do is let people see your face, which is why you want to attend as many virtual events as you can. Should we include our home address on a CV? No, what you include is the area that you're based. So London, UK, or Bristol, UK. But if you're prepared to work anywhere, make sure you say it under your address. Based in London, but can work anywhere. You don't put the whole address. You do put a telephone number and an email, not your date of birth. So if I share my screen with you again. So what I've really shown you there is a bit of a romp, and it's the romp of this training course. Now, each of these modules are about 20-25 minutes long. The first one is how to get the mindset, how to pluck up the courage to pick up the phone, how to pluck up the courage to ask people to connect, how to help with your mental health. Second one is CV. Third one, networking. The fourth, how to smash the interview. You can take them in any order. You do have to register because of spam, and I'm sorry about that. But we were getting so much spam, we had to. You don't have to do exams. I don't want you to have to take any exams because you've got enough on your plate. And you can go back to them as many times as you want. So if you want a refresher of this, that's the place to go. And please share it with your friends. Totally free, no catches, just love. And that's on my website, and it's front and center on my website. But I've got another one for you, you lovely people. So at the beginning of lockdown, when I decided I was going to do this, I interviewed lots and lots of people, and I'm still getting some trickling through. I need to kick a few bottoms to get some more. But I've been interviewing lots of people in our industry. There are about 50 on here. And I asked them, what should you put on a CV? What's best of career advice have they got? How should I network? What's your leadership tip? And they're only about 3 minutes long. Cyrus's is actually 6. Rahae's Rose Bristow from the Torridon, hers is amazing. Go on these and look at them. They're only 3 minutes long, but they're going to give you so many tips. But guess what? You ready? Let's take Genio, Global HR Director for the Dorchester Collection. So you'd quite like to connect with him. So you could go on LinkedIn, you could ask to connect with him, and in the message say, I watched your 3 questions in 3 minutes. with MJ Inspire on YouTube. Thank you so much for the advice. Can I connect with you, please? Robin Shepherd, the owner of Bespoke Hotels, is on there. So you might be able to use this to make a connection. The other thing is, you may have an interview with one of these people. So why not go on there, watch it before you have the interview? So if they talk about book, like Joanna Taylor Stagg talked about her favourite book, you could talk about that. It will give you something to talk about. Again, totally free. Just go on there and look at them. The whole aim for this is to give as many of you as much advice, free advice, quality advice as we possibly could. So don't forget YouTube, and don't forget the Job Seekers Toolkit, because both of those are going to help you. Now, have you got any more questions for me? What if you send an HR request, lots of connections in common in the same company, and she does not accept? What does that mean? Well, there's a couple of things. I'm so glad you asked that. Number one, sometimes they get so many that they just can't get through to them. So that's the first thing. I mean, I've got about 50 in my inbox at the moment, and I'll sit down and I'll sort through them all. So it might mean absolutely nothing. It's simply that they haven't got to it. Number two, it might mean that if you've applied for a job with them, that's awkward for them, and rightly so. I would never ask to connect with somebody that I'm in the process of having interviews with, because you're not going to get an acceptance. If you get the job, you'll get the acceptance, okay? Don't read too much into it. Some people are better on LinkedIn than others. What I would say is, don't take it personally. Somebody just accepted my connection this morning, and it's somebody I asked 6 months ago, because I want them to do 3 questions in 3 minutes for me. And it's somebody I've known for a long time. So don't take it personally. It doesn't mean anything, okay? Should we include a picture in the CV? General rule of thumb is no. Because A, the applicant tracking systems will kick you out, because these days employers can't be seen to be ageist, sexist, or racist. So what you do is you put you're on LinkedIn, and you have a fantastic photograph on LinkedIn. That's how you do it. I've registered myself on MJ side, but I haven't received an email to set up my password. How long is it? Ashish, it should be immediate. So could you do something for me? Could you try again, just in case? I know we had some glitches. I actually put out that we'd had some glitches, and they were doing some fixing stuff on it for me. On my website is an email address that you can contact me directly, which is hello@MJinspire. If it hasn't come back through, tell me, and we'll try to find a way to do it. I just want to check that it's not in your junk though. Please go check your junk and your clutter, that it's not there. But I will email me, I will chase that up, okay? We know some people it's being kicked out by their servers. Any other questions?
Oh, I think you took...
Oh, it did. It went to spam.
Went to spam.
There you go. I'm spam. What can I say? Any other questions? That either means I've answered them all.
Yeah.
Or I was boring as
No, I think you've covered everything. I've just found myself nodding the whole way through that. Oh, and we've got a few more coming.
Oh, look.
You were not boring.
Thank you. I can answer that one for you. Believe it or not, I spoke at a student conference a few years ago, and one of the speakers was from LinkedIn. And I asked her, is LinkedIn Premier worth the money? And she said no. All right. So you had it from me first. But what you can do is, and I do this regularly, is you want to go into your LinkedIn, especially if you're applying for jobs, every couple of days, and check who's been looking at you, because you can still see the top 5 people that have been looking at you. Okay. And I would do that regularly. I agree not being worth it. Can we have a copy of the slides at the end of the aspiring session? Yes, you can. I'll send them through to you, Rachel. I'll send them through as a
send them
PDF.
to me. I can send it to everyone that's attended.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Jessie. That's really very kind of you. What I can tell you is that people have started emailing me to say that they're getting jobs. I was just saying, we've had over 1,200 people register on the site. I've probably done another 400 or so via conferences and some live sessions, and I've coached 82 people, and people are now saying they're getting jobs off the back of this. So I know it works. Okay, and I'll just check, because you could be the first people to know. No, I still don't know whether I'm going to be coaching the Cabinet Office on leadership yet.
And Dave, just got another message come in saying thank you very much, definitely feeling more confident and inspired. So what more can you want to finish a session on? Thank you, that was really informative. Yeah, so brilliant. Oh, they're all so inspiring. Thank you so much. So
follow me on everywhere, subscribe, follow, share the love. Fantastic opportunity. Thank you very much. My pleasure. Thanks, MJ. Great info. My pleasure.
Sussex branch is so proactive. That's what we're here for, and we're here to support you as well. And MJ was the most brilliant speaker that first came to my mind, so hence why we got her here today. But yeah, keep watching and listening and keep in contact with us, because we'll have more to come in the new year as well to support you all.
And I'm constantly updating on all my social media. I'm always sending hints and tips for you. So it is work. As I get more information, I do put it out there. Great.
Well, thank you very much, everyone. Thanks for attending. And yeah, MJ, thank you so much. That was excellent. Brilliant. I found myself just sat there nodding the whole way through that, agreeing with everything you had to say. So another message just come through saying amazing tips and info, 1 hour well spent. So there you go.